Well, our first item up tonight is we're almost to the finish line of a process that starts actually in May. On a calendar year budget, we start the budget process in May of 2021 and have several different aspects to it. Tonight we have a public hearing to go over the preliminary budget that was adopted September 2nd. And depending on how that goes, the next town board meeting on November 4th is when the board would vote on adopting the 2022 budget for the town. So with that being said, I'm going to open up the public hearing on the 2022 budget. Now, what I'd like to do is have, I'm going to present some highlights of this 2022 budget. And then when I'm done with that, since it is a public hearing, we will have people from the floor, if they'd like, take the podium for any questions they may have or comments on this. So, the town of Webster kicked off the 2022 budget process in early May. Each department head is instructed to put forth their best effort to minimize the tax increase to the citizens while providing for the needs within their respective departments. The department heads presented their budgets during the televised budget workshops that were held on July 29th and August 5th. In order to balance the budget and maintain the same level of service, the town has to determine how to handle rising annual costs due to inflation and other metrics. One of those metrics that I had in one of my Supervisor Corner articles is that the cost of personnel at the town, government, both in salaries and hourly rates, benefits, retirement, is about 70% of the annual budget. And when you have that, which is basically just a reality of the world that we live in, and you have union contracts that have payment increases, or salary rates or hourly rates, and you also have, as anybody that is in the room who's an employer or is an employee at their various jobs, health insurance benefits have risen dramatically over the years. So when the town is looking at the state 2% tax cap as a metric that they need to be cognizant of when they're setting the budget, without getting into too much voodoo economics and math, when 70% of your budget is personnel, and that personnel is almost slotted because of union contracts and benefits and all of that as significantly more than a 2% increase each year, it does put a lot of pressure on the department heads as far as putting together a budget that in aggregate between their personnel and the other things that they need to perform the services for the town citizens to keep it under that 2% cap. Since the town contains the village of Webster, there are two different tax rates that apply to the residents. A village resident pays the tax rate derived from the tax levy within the general townwide and highway townwide funds. These funds pay for the services which benefit all town and village residents. A resident who lives outside the village pays the tax rate derived from all four operating funds. The sewer fund provides wastewater collection and treatment services to the residents who live outside of the village. There is an operation and maintenance rate which is paid by the 14,875 residents who own a home that is connected to the town's sewer system. This O&M rate covers the cost to fund the collection system and the wastewater treatment plant. There is also a capital charge which is paid by 15,501 residents who are connected to this system who have a collection line running in front of their home. The capital charge rate pays for equipment, treatment plant upgrades, and debt service from past capital projects. The estimated sewer rates for 2022 compared to 2021 in aggregate are as follows. The 2021 rate was $192.12, and the 2022 rate is $191.45. It is actually going down 67 cents. The revenue. The town benefits from a number of significant revenue sources other than property taxes. The key revenue categories are as follows. Cablevision fees, $550,000. Recreation programs, fitness memberships, and classes, $821,100. Lodge rentals, $100,000. Mortgage tax, $980,000. Sales tax, $4,300,000. Building permits, $120,000, and consolidated highway improvement program $250,000. Continuing on with the revenues, Monroe County snow and ice contract, $395,000. Monroe County highway improvement contracts, $175,000. Parkland Trust Fund park and recreation fees, $150,000, and commercial sewer charges and entry fees, $711,878. I would say, in summary on that, there are parallels to a government budget that do parallel running a business. The budget in Webster, if it is $35 million in total, the more revenues we get from the sources and other, that I just mentioned and other sources, if all factors being equal, the less revenue we have to create to pay the expenses of the budget from taxing our citizens. That's the best way I can explain it. The expenditures, the greatest portion of the town's budget provides funding for many services that are provided by the employees. Types of services run the gamut. They include the court system, law enforcement, fire safety inspections, animal control, park maintenance programs for the senior citizens, the fitness facility recreation programs, public works, drainage improvements, leaf pickup, snow plowing, maintenance of roads and bridges, Webster Public Library, the wastewater treatment plant, the wastewater pump stations, and the entire sewer collection system. The budget also includes special districts, which cover the cost of capital improvements and maintenance for drainage, lighting, parks, sewer systems, and water supply lines. The total expenditure budget for 2022 is $35,863,560, which includes $3,078,276 of interfund transfers. These interfund transfers effectively gross up the expenditures and revenue. The net estimated expenditures for 2022 is equal to $32,785,284 and are broken down as follows. Employee compensation, $14,047,991, that's 42.8%. Contractual costs, $6,768,062, that's 20.6%. Employee benefits, $6,539,900, that's 20%. Debt service, $1,864,981, that's 5.7%. Capital purchases, $1,856,850, that's 5.7%. And retired employee benefits, $1,707,500, that's 5.2%. Town's employees fall into 5 groups, which include the non-union administrators and part-time workers, the blue-collar union, which covers highway and sewer, the police union for the police officers, and the white-collar union for office administration. There are 3 union contracts which cover approximately 120 full-time employees. The blue-collar and white-collar contracts provide their members with a 2% cost of living increase for 2022. The police contract provides a 2.5% cost of living increase for 2022. The employee benefits are driven by the terms of each agreement. Due to the growth in population, infrastructure needs, and a demand for services, the town has had to add a number of employees. The 2022 budget includes several new positions, which include the town engineer, assistant building inspector, and a help desk position within the information technology department. In addition, a code enforcement position was moved from part-time to full-time. The highway department, in the sewer department, will be adding one full-time position. The parks department will also add a maintenance mechanic position to handle all custodial services for town buildings. Debt service represents 5.7% of the budget and consists of serial bond principal and interest payments for prior debt incurred to complete various building and infrastructure projects. In 2021, it also included bond anticipation note payments for current and recent projects that had not yet been rolled into long-term serial bank bonds. All of the bond anticipation notes were rolled into a serial bond in July 2021. And may I add, all at a very nice interest rate.
A very good interest rate.
Yes.
The timing was right.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
The remaining budget is made up of capital purchases, 5.5%, and contractual costs, 20.8%. Some of the key items within these categories are as follows. The Information Technology Department will invest $109,500 in the equipment necessary to maintain the efficiency and integrity of the town's computer network. The Assessing Department will continue its quest toward a full revaluation by incurring $70,000 to contract with a consultant who will serve as the revaluation project manager. This is a 3-year plan which will affect the 2022 through 2024 assessment roles. The Police Department is slated to replace 3 marked Ford Explorers at a cost of $100,000. The Parks and Recreation Department will replace a tractor and a 12-foot batwing mower attachment for a total cost of $67,000. The Highway Department is scheduled to replace a number of vehicles within its aging fleet. The planned replacements include a Ford F-350 pickup truck for $55,000, 10-wheel truck for $265,000, low-boy road tractor for $150,000, excavator for $205,000, and a street sweeper for $250,000. The town has a contract for sludge hauling and disposal that costs $125 per ton. The current contract goes through June 2022, and it is expected to cost $450,000 in 2022. The sewer pump station capital improvements have been budgeted at $40,000. This includes $14,000 for a new control panel at Mill Creek, $11,000 for a new control panel at Pioneer, and $10,000 to pave and make drainage improvements at the Hedges pump station. Capital improvements to the sewer collection system have been budgeted at $95,000. This includes $35,000 to replace lateral lines, $30,000 to replace deteriorated discharge manholes, and $30,000 for line issues noted while televising sewer lines. The sewer fund budget also includes a $200,000 transfer to the capital reserve, which will be utilized for future capital projects. Serial bond principal and interest payments, which make up a portion of sewer capital charge, increased from $303,559 in 2021 to $537,114 in 2022. The town rolled bond anticipation notes utilized for the wastewater treatment plant phase 1 project into serial bonds in July of 2021. Bond anticipation principal and interest payments in 2021 budget were $240,957 compared to $0 in the 2022 budget. The library leases space in the Webster Plaza. The cost of $438,935 has increased from 2021. It consists of rent of $263,563 and common area maintenance charges of $98,372 and real estate taxes of $77,000. The library serial bond debt for renovations matured in 2021, so the budgeted cost has dropped from $117,300 in 2021 to zero in 2022. The town is fortunate to have accumulated surplus from prior years, which is available to stabilize the tax rate. The 2022 budget includes appropriations from fund balance that total $2,085,815. This includes $1,488,000 from the operating funds, $450,000 from the sewer fund balance, and $147,815 from the remaining funds and special districts. Overall, the 2022 budget is fiscally sound, even though we're coming through one of the most unusual periods of time in history. The town has been able to stay under the New York State tax cap while continuing to provide the same level of service to the citizens. That is my report. The only other thing I would say before I open up the podium is that, and I want to make sure, because I think when I read it, this has a proposed 2022 tax rate. If you live in the village, your town tax rate will be $4.89 per thousand, compared to 2021 when it was $4.76, an increase of 13 cents per thousand. And if you live in the town outside the village, the 2022 proposed tax rate is $5.44 per thousand. In 2021, it was $5.30, an increase of 14 cents. To give some perspective on that, if your house is assessed for $200,000 and you live in the town of Webster outside of the village, at $5.44 per thousand, your town tax bill is slightly under $1,100 in 2022. And for the people in the room or on TV, if they're like, wait a minute, my house is around $200,000, my taxes are significantly more than $1,100. This is the town tax. This is not the county tax, nor is it the school tax. It's just the town tax. So, with that in mind, I don't know if Karen had anybody that signed up.
I could say a couple things, Tom.
You know what, actually, Paul, let me hand it to you.
Tom had mentioned other revenues, which are very significant. After netting out the interfund transfers, our other revenues are about $10.5 million. So it's a significant piece of the budget. And the other piece of the puzzle that balances everything out is appropriated fund balance. We've been able to appropriate just under $2.1 million for the 2022 budget. In 2021, it was just over $2.2 million. So we're fortunate to have surplus at the end of 2020. The town had surplus of about $13.3 million. A good portion of that is restricted, but we do have money to help balance the budget on an annual basis. How sustainable that is going forward, everybody's guess. I'm sure it's going to get more difficult as time progresses. But we do our best. I think overall it's been a good process. As Tom said, it started back in May. Many meetings with department heads and board members, and we got it done. The tax cap limit is $20,215,756, and our total levy is $20,214,617. So we're just $1,139 under the cap, which equates to 3.35%. It's referred to as the 2% tax cap, but that's only the consumer price index portion. There's also a growth factor of 1.35, and both of those indexes vary each year. So the real cap is 3.35 for 2022.
Thank you, Paul. Now, we have pretty much almost every department head, if not every department head, is present tonight. So if anybody would like to get up on the podium to comment on something on the budget or ask a question. I think we have a panel of people that are very suited to answer any questions because we have everybody here. And I'm glad this young lady has the Webster today, because if you live in Webster and you got this in the mail last week, you got the preliminary budget on every line item in the Webster today. So can you give your name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Ashley and I live off of Garden Lane.
Can you give your full name, Ashley?
Ashley Teague,
Okay, and your address is?
982 Garden Lane.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the Webster today. I had found out in the budget year, it is going to be $43,000 in taxpayers' money. And I had to do some digging, so correct me if I'm wrong here. But this wasn't talked about with the town, wasn't talked about with you guys. You hired your friend who was printing this from out of state, and it's not being printed in state, so you're paying someone our tax money to print this outside of the state, but you run on being open government and for local businesses, but you didn't give any local businesses a chance to bid on who was printing this. So that was the main thing I wanted to talk about, because there's a lot to unpack in here that I don't have enough to say in like 5 minutes. But the other thing is the issue is the parks. We have a huge budget, and with North Parks Park is somewhere that I have a friend that frequents out that I'm at often, and like the bathrooms are never clean there. So I don't know if North Ponds Parks just gets missed, but for having such a big budget, I have an issue with North Ponds bathroom. Like my friend could even take their kid in there to get it changed. There's not trash cans around, and really that's all I have for those two things.
Okay.
There's a lot of things, but I know I'll miss the 5 minutes, but those are the two main things.
Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else that has comments or questions?
This is pertaining to the budget.
That is correct, sir. This is the public hearing on the budget. And you can state your name and your address, please?
My name is Ron Nesbitt. I live at 1075 Railway Crossing. And I thank the board for this opportunity to speak on the budget tonight. But after looking at the proposed 2022 budget, one has to ask what the Webster residents are getting for a spending increase of $802,521 and a 3% increase in spending. In the last 2 years, the Flaherty administration has spent $2,106,291, or 8.1% more in spending. In 2 years, we have had a spend, spend, spend as this board's motto. We don't see too much discussion about cutting expenses. We did hear about some cleaning contracts. We heard some lawnmower contracts. We heard about the chief of police, his salary, his retirement salary, we don't have to pay anymore. So if we didn't have those savings, this 802 would probably be 900. But we did have some savings. Now, the previous administration, when they left, the budget was $26 million in 2020. And the increase that year was $331,332, or 1.29%. The amount to be raised by taxes was $310,000. In his first year of administration, the budget went up $1,303,770 in the first year. $475,000 to be raised by taxes. This year, we're up to $28 million, 148, 802,000, as I said. So we're up $2,106,000. Supervisor correctly stated, 14 cents this year, 10 cents last year. 24 cents in the first 2 years. Okay? I can tell you that the spending on employees and their wages and benefits has increased significantly since 2019. In 2019, the salary of the HR person was $65,101. After leaving the employment at Town Hall, a new HR person was hired, and he was given a salary of $90,000 and 4 weeks vacation from day one. Working the same 5 days a week and the same 7.5 hours a day. So that's $25,000 in 2021 and another $25,000 in 2022. So that's $50,000 right there. Some of the other salaries that have gone astronomical would be, let's start with the Director of Community Development, which was hired in December of 2019 as replacement for the Deputy Commissioner, Don Hauser, who was making $87,000 at that point in time. We hired the new guy in December of 2019, and that position at $60,000. Since that time, there's been a change entitled to Director of Community Development, and in 2021, we paid this gentleman $90,036. That is up over $30,000 in the first year. Now this year, we're going to be at $91,500 for 2022, another $31,500. So with 2 employees alone, you've gone up $110,000 in 2 years. That is a lot of money. 2 employees. We haven't talked about the town engineer. We hired your town engineer, and last year's budget was $90,000. Now it's up to $95,880. It's over a $5,000 increase. Highway superintendent. Joe Herbst worked here for 35 years. He made, when he walked out the door, $105,328. We hired a new guy at $102,000. He has yet to take the test to make it official. He's a provisional appointment, and we paid him $102,000 a day in. Unbelievable. And then we go to the boards, the zoning board, the conservation board, and the planning board. They haven't had a raise in 2 years. Price of gas is going up. They got to drive from their house here, and you can't give them $20 more a month. When we're giving everybody else $110,000, those guys work hard. Town board got a raise, $407 a year, and we can't give the zoning board, planning board, and the conservation board a raise. Unbelievable. Unfreaking. Now the town clerk's office. I love the town clerk's office. They do a great job. I just want to show something here. They have two part-time employees that they're not bringing back. $28,091. And they put them in the full-time line, which is $31,750 more. You're going to have to pay 15 to 16% retirement on that, which would be about $5,000. Then you got $20,000 in health care. So you just raised that position from $28,000 to $57,000. That's a $28,000 increase going from 2 part-times to 1 full-time. That's what you have to watch when you're budgeting. We had a cap. The former administration had a cap on how many employees. We just didn't go nilly-willy and hire people because the benefits are going to kill you. Chief of Police is a great guy. I love the police department. But, as Councilman Dean told us all in the budget meeting, they took great time to understand that the new chief of police would not be getting retirement and the town was saving money. So they paid him $13,000 more than the former chief. They're paying him $150,170. I don't know all exactly what the retirement, I'm going to say 25%. in that area. It's about $36,000, which would be paid in retirement there. But since he's making $13,000, you save $23,000 on the whole deal. That's good. But when I look at the budget, and I think there's a mistake there, and Paul can tell me whether there is or not. The budget is up $414,000 for the police department, and another $187,000 in benefits. It's $601,000. I think there's a mistake. So I'm going to cut off $200,000, and we'll take it down to $400,000 for this year, for 2022. Okay? Well, what are we getting? What are we getting extra? Mr. Dean didn't tell you that. He only told you he saved $23,000. He didn't tell you that the first year police chief is raising the budget $400,000.
And Mr. Nesbitt, I'm just telling you, I'm giving you a lot of leeway here because of your position of 24 years in government, but you're well over the 5 minutes.
It didn't say that in the agenda.
Okay, well,
It didn't say 5 minutes, it said public hearing. It's up to you.
how much more time do you have?
Or I just got a few things. Okay? All right. I'll get in the newspaper quickly. It was referenced before. It's up $1,000 from $42,000 to $43,000. But yet nowhere's in there says how much Mr. Polito's getting. Nowhere's in there says how much the printer's getting. And nowhere in the budget does it say how much revenue you're getting from the ads. It's not in the budget. You're getting money for the ads. Every page is a half a page ad. There is no revenue budget in the 2022 for that. Period. Nothing there. There's no revenue in the budget for the drug officer. Nothing. We're going to get money from the drug officer. We're paying the drug officer $160,000 a year. Where's the money for the drug officer? Nothing in the budget. Okay? It's only controlled by the police chief anyhow. So, I'll finish up. $7.5 million. We took bonds out for the sewer. $31 million. You said the tax rate or the sewer rate is going down. It will go down next year, but in years to come, it's going to be up $50 a house, from 190 to 240, as you've already mentioned. We got $11 million for Sandbar Park, another $10 to $15 million for highway garage if we decide to do that. Town of Webster is going to be in debt for years to come. Since you want me to hurry, I will say that I foiled the mortgage tax. Everybody in the world knows if you sell a house right now, you're paying a lot more. Mortgage tax money is up. As of June 30th, Town of Webster had $875,953 in mortgage tax money. You double that, you come out to $1,750,000. Paul's only budgeted $980,000. So he's got $771,000 going fund balance. You can use that money to offset the tax rate. You know you can. You can do it. You can go to zero this year. Very possible. Because he's got sales tax. It's over $4 million there too. In closing, I'm going to close. I would like to express my displeasure with the town board in not acknowledging the recent death of Town Attorney Roger Sedgman after 20 years of service to Webster. I watched last week's town board workshop chaired by Deputy Supervisor Halvik and tonight's meeting chaired by the supervisor, and neither mentioned Roger's passing. I find this to be outrageous. Also in the last few months, Rod Potter, Sandy Stringer, John Hermanette, Jeanette Irwin, and just last week Dolores have left town employment, and this town board has not seen fit to recognize one of these hard-working employees. These employees make you look good sitting up there. And least you could do is to mention their names after they have left town service. You just provided Councilman Dean with a full-page goodbye in the Webster Today. But his 12 years of service would not be successful without these employees doing their job. This town board needs to do a better job of recognizing our town employees. I thank you for listening. I appreciate the extra time. but you can get the tax rate to zero, and you need to understand that your employees are your best asset. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nesbitt, and I will tell you this. If I was sitting in the crowd and I was watching on TV tonight, I would want to fire this town board after what I just heard Mr. Nesbitt say. I just want to give, for all the people of my age, Paul Hardy maybe the rest of the story on something. A lot of numbers were flying around from Mr. Nesbitt, and I'm somebody who has an accounting background, and I got confused. So for the layman, I can understand where it might have really confused you. But right before I finished, I said that the town tax rate this year in the budget is proposed at $5.44 per thousand. And last year it was $5.30. So the proposed budget is going up 14 cents per thousand. Last year's budget, 2021, was $5.30 per thousand. And that was up from $5.22 in 2020. It was up 8 cents. So I'm going to really make this simple. In the 2 years under, as Mr. Nesbitt said, this administration, the budgets that this administration has handled, the average proposed increase of 8 cents and 14 cents a thousand, if we add those two together, that's 22 cents divided by the 2 years. Does everybody agree that's 11 cents per thousand on average? I don't see anybody shaking their head.
Still too much.
Mr. Nesbitt's administration in his last 5 years went up 61 cents over those 5 years, which if you divide 61 cents by 5 years, that's an average of 12.2 cents. Mr. Nesbitt can shake his head, but it is facts.
It is facts, but what was the growth on the 2%?
You don't want to get into this.
You don't want to go there. You don't want to go
I just
there.
wanted to make sure that citizens
You don't want to go there, Mr.
got
Friday.
that other side of the story. There's a lot of numbers flew around. But that is a fact, what I just described. Irrefutable, unequivocal fact. So, with that being said, and I really do appreciate it, I got to tell you something. Praise, you don't learn anything from. Criticism, that's where you learn things. I appreciate Mr. Nesbitt. He is a valuable resource for me because I can count on his criticism. And I need that criticism because that's the only way that we're going to stay sharp as a town government. So I really want to thank you, Mr. Nesbitt. Now, with that being said, is there anybody else that would like to take the podium tonight?
I do.
For the budget.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Because I heard Andy ask earlier.
My name's Tom Roth. I live at 800 Lake Road. First of all, this is the first time I've been to a budget meeting, and it was an enlightening meeting. I'd like to know from one of the people on the board, how many people are employed by the town of Webster?
Full,
120?
full time.
Full-time. And then how many part-time?
Paul,
Just a guess.
it's right around 160 right now, but it's.
All right, so really, you've got 280, you've got 280 bodies.
Yep.
All right, the one thing that hit me is the HR person that has since retired left was $65,000 a year. And now the new HR person is $90,000, which is a considerable percentage increase. And I will share with you, if this person's worked their way to gold, it's the best money you've ever spent. You got 280 people, and you're paying $90,000 for an HR person. That person can earn their keep in keeping the lawyers at bay. So these are tough times. And I heard a 2% increase in across the board for what I'll call your highway department, your other union employees, and things like that. That's a bargain right now, and it's going to get tougher. So in respect to what Mr. Nesbitt said, we got to keep our powder dry but I think that this is going to be a challenge that the board's going to have to wrestle with for a long time, and this isn't the only thing that's going to be going up. So, in my opinion, the investment that you're making in good people is going to be well worth its weight in gold. And you'll be poached, and there will be people that will be coming to you. Grab the great people and hang on to them like grim death and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And since Tom Rupp, I'm a little bit of a kindred soul, although the business was significantly bigger and more successful than the business that I had. One thing you'll appreciate is that where the numbers were given of what the HR director made previously versus what our HR director makes now, the total HR budget has actually gone down for the last couple of years because our previous HR director, wonderful person, but needed a lot of other resources in the department, third-party attorneys to help out, as you said, Tom. And so the total budget for the HR department was actually higher. When we hired talent, we were able to take away some of those resources that we were paying for outsourcing. So the net of the department is actually less than it was. So, anybody else looking to have some fun tonight on the two? Oh, Andy. Wow. This is like karaoke night with.
You don't want to hear me sing. Andy Opart, 820 Lake Road. Just a few quick comments. Anytime I hear a government talk about what a big surplus they have, that raises my eyebrows. That tells me, that translates to prior overtaxation. Government should not have big surpluses. They should run with what they need and a small margin for contingencies. So I don't know what is restricted out of that $13.3 million. I guess I'll have to look into it a little more. Second comment, I guess, is when we talk about, hey, we're bound by contracts, we've got these increases. I understand that, but it's slightly disingenuous to talk about, oh, we're bound by contracts. I presume the town is the entity negotiating these contracts, so left hand and right hand are not that far apart. They should know what they're doing, and when they're negotiating these, keep in mind, there's a price to pay down the road. Last comment is, I think Mr. Nesbitt does have a valid point in looking not so much at the tax levy change. This particular one is apparently 1.9%. But looking at spending, change in spending, I think that really is the most important parameter to look at, looking year to year. And what is that change in spending year over year on the proposed budget?
We're at 558, 889.
In a percent basis?
1.66.
All right. So that's all. Again, I will commit myself to understand better about the surplus because I had a conversation with the school superintendent some years ago about surpluses. She was very proud of the very large surpluses. And when I looked at my school tax bills, I was not as equally pleased. Thank you.
Andy, and I can't thank you enough for saying that because there's unspoken tonight by Paul Adams, who, by the way, the town is very fortunate to have a finance director of the caliber of Paul Adams. Paul Adams, in February of 2020, went to the Association of Towns annual meeting in New York City. Seems like a million years ago because it was before COVID, right? Came back from that meeting and said that the Association of Towns is really going to crack down on town governments, municipalities building up their surpluses because, Andy, it is tantamount to overtaxing, right? So that led to, and with Paul's assistance, really spearheading this, for the first time, a formal fund balance policy was written and adopted by this town board, I think in late 2020.
Yeah.
So we have already started to put the parameters on, which previously was not there, of what should be the minimum surplus in the various fund balances, restricted or unrestricted, and what should be the maximum. That never existed before. And I don't know about you guys, but having that type of subjectivity puts, this board here, you might trust this board. Oh, but you don't know 5 years from now, another board, if you don't have those parameters in a policy, somebody might go down to 0 or less, which I think is not good fiscal management. You gotta have some reserve. Right, Tom? You run your business on a shoestring? Don't answer it, don't write it down. And you can't also have $1 trillion in reserve. So those are some tremendous achievements, in my opinion, in the last 2 years. That, I'm very proud of what Paul and the board has done on that. Because one of the things that we are tasked with as a board is not just making decisions for today, but putting in the town in a position for 20 years to be successful. And I've made it very clear, and I've been vocal about this, I don't like the one-year budget cycle of government. I don't like the 2% cap. It gets politicized, and it doesn't really foster good fiscal management. It doesn't say, hey, let's come up with a 5-year plan. That's not how it works, right, Barry? But, Tom, businesses, you get a little longer-term plan. You budget for a year and all that stuff, but the government doesn't really foster that. And I've struggled with that, because I think there's almost a false, bar on, are you doing well? Anyway, I've said my piece. Would anybody else like to take the podium on the budget? Well, Charlie, am I right to say that we are going to close out this public hearing?
Nobody else wants to speak.
Yeah. I want to thank all the department heads who came. I really was hoping that we would have you answer some of the questions, but I'll tell you what, for people at home, whatever, again, we are, haven't been in private industry for 30 years. Tom, what you said on the podium earlier, and I think the board members will attest to this, we are assembling a very talented team of leaders and department heads at this time. Very talented. And the town will benefit from that. They will benefit from that. So,
We've hired 7 new department
I
heads.
think it's 7.
7 hired in the last year and a half, and every one has been a home run. Every single one.
And you've seen a lot, Barry.
I would say there's a lot of talent and a lot of forward thinking from our department heads. It's admirable. We appreciate it.
Just add to that, the process, hiring these new people has changed significantly. Supervisor Clarity's direction and with the assistance of HR director. So it's a collaborative effort. In the past, that wasn't necessarily so. It's a very, very thorough interview process. And we're reaping the benefits of it. And all our department heads, not just the new people, all of them are true professionals. And the town of Webster is significantly benefiting from all our department heads. And so, to our department heads that are here this evening, thank you very, very much for all your work.
And with that, the public hearing is